The number is $1,400,000. That is not a dream figure. That is not a motivational ceiling. That is the specific amount a 32-year-old earning $56,000 a year needs invested at a 4% dividend yield to replace their salary entirely with income that arrives whether they work or not. Most people spend their whole lives inside the machine that could be replaced by that number and never do the math to find out what it actually is. You are checking your account balance right now the same way you check it every morning. Not because something changed overnight, because the number is the first thing you need to see before the day starts, before coffee, before the notifications. The number tells you where you are, and where you are is the reason you searched for this video. The first silence is the number you have been avoiding. Not because you don't believe in dividends. You've watched enough videos. You've heard the concept 100 times. Passive income, quarterly distributions, the idea that money can work while you sleep. You understand the theory. What you've been avoiding is the actual arithmetic, the cold, honest translation of that theory into the specific dollar amount sitting between you and a life that doesn't depend on a paycheck. So here it is. If you spend $4,000 a month, $48,000 a year, and you want dividends alone to cover it, you need between $960,000 and $1,600,000 invested. The range exists because yield is not fixed. A diversified dividend portfolio averaging 3% requires $1.6 million. One averaging 5%, higher risk, less diversification, requires $960,000. The S&P 500's average dividend yield right now sits around 1.3%. Indexed to that alone, you need $3.7 million to generate $48,000 in annual dividends. That number is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to clarify what you are actually building toward and what decisions actually matter. The first rule is this: the yield percentage is almost never the problem. The principle is almost always the problem. Most people spend years optimizing for the wrong variable. They chase higher yield stocks, REITs with 8% distributions, covered call ETFs promising double-digit returns. They treat the yield like a lever they can pull to reduce how much they need to accumulate. But yield optimization without principal accumulation is rearranging the mathematics of something you haven't built yet. A 6% yield on $100,000 is $6,000 a year. It is $500 a month. It does not replace your commute. It does not replace your alarm. You cannot optimize your way out of accumulation. You are 28. You have $14,000 in a brokerage account you opened 2 years ago after watching a video almost exactly like this one. You've contributed inconsistently. Some months $400, some months nothing. Once, $1,100 in a single week when you felt particularly motivated after a bad day at work. The account sits at $14,000 because the market moved against you for a while, and you kept telling yourself you'd increase contributions when things felt more stable. Things never felt more stable. That's not a personal failure. That's the design of the machine. The financial media cycle that alternates between crash warnings and recovery euphoria, keeping retail investors perpetually uncertain, perpetually reactive, perpetually just about to start when conditions improve. The second silence is the gap between what dividends promise and what they actually pay. There is a version of dividend investing that gets sold on the internet, and a version that exists in reality. The internet version involves a simple formula: invest in high-yield stocks, collect quarterly checks, retire early. The reality version involves understanding that yield and total return are not the same thing. A company paying an 8% dividend yield on a declining stock price is not a gift. It is a warning. The dividend aristocrats, companies that have raised their dividend every year for 25 consecutive years, yield an average of 2.5%. Johnson & Johnson, Procter & Gamble, Coca-Cola. These are real businesses with real distribution histories. They are not exciting. They are not the stocks that generate discussion on finance forums, and their yields, averaged together, require significant principal to produce meaningful income. You've been in the discovery phase long enough. You know what a drip is. You know what REITs are. You have a watch list with 22 tickers that you review on Sunday evenings with a kind of private seriousness, like studying for an exam that keeps getting rescheduled. The watch list grows, the position sizes do not. This is the pattern, and it is more common than the finance internet will ever admit. The pattern is not laziness. It is psychological. Behavioral economists call it present bias, the measurable human tendency to overvalue immediate consumption relative to future reward, even when the future reward is mathematically superior. Every dollar that goes into a dividend account in your late 20s is approximately $9 in dividend income at 65, assuming historical average returns. Your brain does not experience that ratio as real. The $9 are abstract. The thing you could buy with the $1 today is not. The machine, the algorithm, the feed, the relentless architecture of modern consumption is specifically designed to exploit that bias. It is not accidental that one-click purchasing exists. It is not accidental that buy now, pay later is embedded in every checkout flow. Friction is deliberately removed from spending and deliberately maintained around long-term investing. The machine profits from present bias. Understanding this is not inspiration, it is intelligence. The shift is when you stop asking, how do I get a higher yield, and start asking, how much can I accumulate per year? The math of accumulation is not complicated. It is uncomfortable. If you are 28 and you invest $1,500 a month into a dividend growth portfolio averaging 7% total return, dividends plus appreciation, you reach $1 million in approximately 23 years. You are 51. At $2,000 a month, you reach it in 20 years. You are 48. At $2,500 a month, 18 years. You are 46. Every additional $500 per month buys you roughly 2 years of your life back. That is not a metaphor. That is the actual trade. The third silence is what the yield doesn't tell you. Qualified dividends are taxed at 0%, 15%, or 20%, depending on your income level. Non-qualified dividends are taxed as ordinary income, meaning at your marginal rate, which for most working professionals is 22% to 24%. This doesn't make dividend investing wrong. It makes tax location strategy essential. Holding your highest yielding positions inside a Roth IRA changes the after-tax max significantly. A $1,400,000 portfolio inside a taxable account generating 4% in qualified dividends produces roughly $44,800 after a 15% dividend tax rate. Inside a Roth, it produces $56,000. The same portfolio, the same yield, $11,200 per year difference. Over 20 years of retirement, that gap approaches $250,000. Tax location is not a technicality, it is a principal decision. You have a Roth IRA. You have not maxed it in 3 of the last 5 years. Not because you couldn't, because the contribution felt optional in a way the car payment did not. This is where the lie lives. The lie is that dividend investing is a strategy for when you have enough money left over. It is not. It is a strategy for people who have decided that the machine does not get to allocate their surplus. The machine, the subscription economy, the upgrade cycle, the social performance layer built into every consumer product, takes everything you don't protect deliberately. Your phone costs more than it did 4 years ago. Your streaming subscriptions have multiplied. Your food delivery usage has normalized. None of these were decisions you made in a single sitting. They were defaults you accepted, one small friction-free transaction at a time. The average American household now spends $219 per month on subscriptions alone. That is $2,628 per year. Invested consistently from age 28 at 7% annual return, it is $245,000 by age 60. Not the subscriptions you use, just the ones you forgot you have. The fourth silence is the decade you have to disappear into. There is no version of this that is fast. There is no yield high enough, no strategy clever enough, no side income large enough to replace the decade of consistent accumulation. The people who reached dividend income independence in their 40s did not find a shortcut. They found a different relationship with time. They became comfortable being invisible, financially invisible, for a sustained period while the account grew in a way that produced no status, no social signal, no visible evidence of progress to anyone around them. This is psychologically harder than it sounds in 2025. The feed shows you the arrival, not the disappearance. The finance influencer shows you the portfolio screenshot, not the 9 years of Saturday nights when nothing happened. The algorithm selects for visible success, because invisible accumulation generates no engagement. You are being shown a version of wealth building that has been edited for attention. The decade of disappearing was cut. The trade is real. You are trading social performance years for financial independence years. That is not abstract. It means fewer dinners you don't need, fewer cars that represent something, fewer weekends consumed by the economics of appearance. Most people are unwilling to make this trade because they have not calculated what the other side of it looks like. They have not sat with the specific number, 1.4 million, 2.1 million, whatever their number is, and worked backwards to the monthly contribution required, and the years required, and the specific things that have to stop being purchased for that contribution to be possible. Do the math on your number before you decide it is too much. The fifth silence is what you actually give up to get there. The answer is not coffee. It is not avocado toast. The personal finance media has spent 15 years telling you that small expenses are the problem, because small expenses are relatable content. They are not the problem. The research is clear. Housing, transportation, and food represent over 70% of average household spending. These are the categories where the real decisions live. The car you lease instead of buying used. The apartment in the expensive neighborhood because of how it feels to say the neighborhood name. The food delivery habit that costs $400 a month, because cooking requires time you tell yourself you don't have. These are not moral failures. They are the natural output of a system designed to extract maximum spending from people with moderate incomes and high social comparison pressure. Understanding the system does not automatically free you from it, but it removes the self-blame that keeps most people paralyzed. You are not undisciplined. You are operating inside an economy specifically engineered to prevent accumulation. The sixth silence is what changes when the income finally arrives. The first dividend deposit is smaller than you expected. You have been building for 3 years. The account is at $47,000. The quarterly dividend is $423.18. It arrives on a Tuesday. You are at work. You see the notification. You feel something you were not prepared to feel. Not the euphoria of the finance videos, not the relief you imagined. Something quieter than that. Something more like proof of concept. The machine paid you. You were somewhere else, and the machine paid you. You reinvest it immediately, because at $47,000, $423 is a position addition, not a living. But the feeling does not leave you. It recalibrates something. The $423 is not the point. The $423 is evidence that the architecture works, that the direction is correct, that the decade of disappearing has a real destination. The cost is not what you spent to get here. The cost is the person you cannot be for a sustained period of time to get here. The person who upgrades, who signals, who participates fully in the consumption performance that your peer group runs on. That person is real, and the absence of him has a social price. People notice. Some of them ask questions you deflect. Some of them make assumptions you do not correct. The invisibility is not free, but it is finite. The seventh silence is what freedom actually feels like when it's real. It does not feel like a vacation. It does not feel like the video thumbnails. It feels like a Wednesday morning when the alarm doesn't make you feel anything. When the first thought is not dread and not urgency, and not the low-grade anxiety of a schedule you didn't choose. It feels like a specific kind of space. Unstructured, unhurried, fully yours. Most people have never felt it for more than 2 weeks at a time. The machine offers simulation of it, the vacation, the weekend, the holiday that always ends. The real version is permanent. And permanent feels different from every temporary version of it you have ever experienced. You are 51. The account is at $1,480,000. The annual dividend income at a blended 4% yield is $59,200. After tax, $50,320. Your expenses are $48,000. The gap is $2,320. You have $2,320 more per year in dividend income than you spend. The machine does not own Wednesday morning anymore. You did not get here because of a high yield. You did not get here because of a single decision. You got here because of the accumulation rate you protected for 23 years against an economy that was designed to consume it. You got here because you did the math early enough to understand what the math required. You got here because you treated the contribution as infrastructure and the lifestyle as the variable, not the other way around, the way the machine always wants it. The number is $1,400,000, or $960,000, or $2,100,000. It depends on your expenses, your yield, your tax situation, your timeline. But it is always a specific number. And the specific number always leads to a specific monthly contribution. And the monthly contribution always leads to a specific behavior change. And the behavior change always begins on a Tuesday morning when you decide the feed does not get to allocate your surplus anymore. You are still checking the account, but the feeling is different now. The number is not a verdict. It is a coordinate. You know where you are, and for the first time, you know exactly what it takes to get somewhere else.